Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new section of this channel, which I would like to call the Rundy Corner podcast. Uh, Disclaimer: This why the name. So this is a corner of my hostel room, and which me and my roommates we have very lovingly we call it the Rundy Corner. Now, the R word is actually very lovingly used by me to call out my friends. I know, quite weird, but I think it's a bit feminist for reclaiming the power, for calling something which is so derogatory, but to use it as something so loving, right? And this corner, like because it's a sharing group, uh, it's like a private space, like semi-private. So like people can come here and cry. And when I say people, definitely not me. So yeah, and I just thought like bro, like everyone has like I think I reached peak bro. I think that's what I reached. I reached peak bro, where I'm like, you know what, my thoughts matter. That my thoughts deserve to be out there, and and everything. And like I've been like working a lot. My weekdays are just like off the chart, and I'm just like, एक second. वेदांत एसी चालू करना बढ़ा सकता है क्या? नहीं नहीं, तेरे को खराब तबीयत खराब है ना, रहने दे वरना. So I think I reached like peak bro, where I'm like, yes, my thoughts matter and shit. But to be very honest, like I was just because I listen to a lot of podcasts nowadays, and I'm just like, I don't think there is this perspective in like this, like very like early 20s guy who doesn't come from money, but is like in a like a city, Mumbai, right? Like just trying to figure this shit out, and he's not doing shit in like creative industry. He's not trying to be a vlogger and like YouTuber and bullshit and a model, and like he's just like, and the person is just like, like the person doesn't know, and like I just can't find people like that. It's just always like whatever podcast like my roommate sees, Siddhant, they're all just like fucking grown up, rich fucking people from Bombay. And I'm like, I don't get their perspective. Like, generally, like, if you, like, I don't get their perspective, I don't fucking understand. And I don't relate. And I'm just like, like, I want a podcast by a person who's like in my situation ish, right? Which I think a lot of people are, but I just can't find, like, just can't find it. So I was like, you know what, I'll make it myself because why not? So I've been trying to like I was watching Simple Can, and Simple Can shout out, um, bless you. That's my roommate. And I was like, and I've been watching, and turns out it's been 5 years since Simple Can, and I've been watching it since like lockdown and stuff. And I was like, you know what, bro, it's been 5 fucking years, of a podcast, which I genuinely like. And I was like, you know what, I can do something like that. So why not do something like that? So we are here, the Randy Corner podcast. All of us here are Randys. I'm a Randy, you're a Randy, we are Randys for love. I think I'm going to like genuinely get cancelled for this shit. Like if I when I get a job, my recruiter will just look through these videos and be like, huh? What is this? No job, fired. So I might change the name, but I quite like it, especially because it's like because I just have like I never have said I just love the word. I don't think I ever called a woman Randy. I always call men Randy. Oh my god, that's very funny to me at least. Why the fuck is someone calling me? Right. So, right, you can love someone a lot, right? You can be with a person, you can love them a lot, but they just might not be healthy for you, right? Understandable. I think the same way applies to careers, right? You might really fucking love, like, for example, I might really like music and really like videos and shit and everything, right? But in my position right now, right? if you talk, key where okay fine, if I pursue this, I will not have the financial backup to go about it. So even though I like the profession, let's assume I go into like what videos and I go into the film industry, I don't really have a lot of financial backup, right? So sure, I love it, I'm doing the work, but like what? At the cost of like good housing, I'll probably have not enough money to like eat good or go to the gym or like, you know, have like a good healthcare insurance going on or like shit like this, which will like affect my mental health, which will affect my social life, like it's like this, like that. Also, another thing I was thinking is the thing that I have of like finding the perfect career, right? Because I think there's this thing of like, because I was thinking about it yesterday. Uh, he, I think there is just a perfect thing out there which I just have to do and I just have to find like this career and it's just going to solve everything, right? It's just going to be perfect and it's going to be like the best shit and it doesn't feel like work. And I was like, I don't think that's true because firstly, if you admit ki this passion or this career which is going to just like solve everything is not in your control and it's external, that just means ki at some point you're saying, oh, I don't have control over me liking my work and my career and stuff, which I don't really quite like. Yeah. Right. So that's one thing. Ki the moment you go like, oh, it's out there, I just have to find it. And the same thing, like if you, some people have this thinking there's a perfect partner, like there's a perfect partner who's just going to be perfect, right? And I think there's this same like answer to both of these, which is like there is no perfect, right? There is like no perfect. So then, what do you do, right? If there is no perfect, I mean, I think it is. I think I'm going to say the C word, compromise, right? In every sense of way. At some point or another, I think even in love or in career, there's a good compromise, where how to put it, ki you're compromise on other things in life with that job, which is not perfect, but you do it because you commit to it, right? I guess that's what you call a career because you commit to it. Then on the other hand, that's a relationship because like the person is not perfect, you commit to the person then, but then take it a one step like below. Okay, why? So then how is one supposed to determine what they commit to, right? And I was like, okay, for a relationship you commit to someone on multiple bases, right? Do you respect this person, do you but at the end I think it is connection. I don't think it's about objectively finding a thing and all and everything. I think it's just at the end like, are you connected to this person, right? So if you're connected to this person, you get committed. But then on the other hand, like career, and I keep thinking how like what you feel connected to is like so deterministic at some point as to what your surroundings have been. Um, like if someone has been, because I'm in law school, someone who's been surrounded by law all their life, they'll most likely be connected to law and academics and yada yada whatever, right? But then taking a step below this, right? Whatever the reason you have for being connected to this person or this field of study, right? If you break it down, like for example, uh, how do I put it? Let's look at firstly the job. Let's assume ki let's assume. I mean, I quite like it, but let's look at the reason why I like law in some way or another, right? It's problem solving, like because I'm going a step below key. Why am I connected to just like breaking it fundamentally? It's problem solving. I really like to like, okay, there's a shit going on. I'm like figuring it out. It's like what kind of person I am. I'm like a tinkerer. I like to like the whole world is like a puzzle to me, and I need to make sense of it. And I really like to like, oh, this is how it works. I love that. I love like puzzles, and I like to like figure it out, you know. I like that. Oh, this is how it goes, right? And I like it's very fast paced and it's very like deadline. I love it. I love the deadline stuff, you know. And I like the competition. I like that. I like the right. And then if you look at like the relationship type of stuff, one would be like, oh, I like when they're like supportive, understanding, loving, caring, right? So now we broke down. There is no perfect. You have to compromise. You compromise on what? Something you're committed to. What do you commit to? Something you're connection to. What do you feel connected to? You connected to that because of these things. Now this is where it gets tricky, right? Because all of these things, whether in career or in love, because of which you feel connected to, for which you'll make compromises and commit to something which is going to be your relationship or your career, right? Which is not perfect, but it is good enough. Not good enough. It's not. Uh, it's not complete. Yes, that's the word. No, it's not perfect, but it's enough. It's enough, and I think that's not in a settling kind of way. Key, because I think at some point where I, as a person, or like everyone just goes like, I want everything. I want this. It's just perfect, best, 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 best. And that's where it gets fucked up. We're coming back. So all of these things, right? Problem solving, deadline, yeah, or like caring, loving, understanding. All of these things because of which you have this one thing, law and a relationship. You can get all of these things which are there in another career or another person or a relationship, right? And then you can use these things to then change your life. Now let me do this. Now, it also depends, I think, at some point into something I called, which I genuinely think is um, objective happiness, which I genuinely think is, the thing. Like, you know, like um, objectively. So, uh, how do I explain it? Give me a second. Yeah, I think, this is thought of conversation which always goes in people when I talk to people is key. You can just choose to be content and happy, right? And you should just like choose to be like content and happy and happiness, and it doesn't come from external things and all and everything, which I totally agree. Okay, I understand, I agree, but I think most people should not be content or happy. Hear me out, because see, if you're in a village, you're financially broke, you barely afford food for your family, healthcare is like not good, and your future generations are not like, but you're happy, you're content, right? My whole argument is, he, what's the point, right? You being happy or content in a terrible situation is objectively a bad thing. I think it's much rather better if you be content and you be unhappy and you change your circumstances to something where you're like, you know what, this is chill. Now that situation is chill. If this continues throughout my life, I'm chill. Then you're still unhappy. Okay, fine. Then work on yourself. Because this thing where I think you have to control the externals and the internals. And nowadays, like, I do understand like our generation is getting like really materialistic also in some way, but it is also like trying to like very wannabe way being like fulfillment comes from inside while being a trust fund baby basically. Like you'll just see an arts major girl living off her parents' money, and like she'll just be like, fulfillment comes from inwards. Just be happy, bro. And I'm just like, excellent. Firstly, I don't think one should be happy. Like, so I think some parts of your life, like you should not be happy with your situation, right? Because if you're happy and you're settled and you're content with your situation, then you're not gonna change it. So coming back to this point, okay, now that you've identified all of these things, fundamental things, so like your love life and your career, you can change them to, as I mentioned, change your situations. Change your situation basically. Now you can just like, I think at some point just tell that I have ADHD. It's like okay, never mind. Now I think I've, I think I don't really care a lot about like love and relationships and all, because I think a lot of people worry about that a lot. Like generally, like I know, oh, will I just die alone, which I also do sometimes. I'll be honest, but like I just don't like. I'm like, okay, that will be like figured out. Whatever. But like one thing that I always worry about my whole life is this thing of like, what do I want my life to look at? It's like a singular person, like as my career, as to what I want to do in life, right? And I had this constant thing of that I would want, or even if I don't want, I would be envious about not being able to have something which I just can't have, right? Because I just, it's not even ki I want it, right? It's just ki this infuriating anger that I have, that it's not an option to me. Like for example, like you see all of these like early 20s Bombay kids, like rich background, and they're just like doing like art and design and DJ and influencing and stuff like that, where it's just like, like I don't want to say it's not a real job, but it's not a sustainable career for someone um, who's not from Bombay. And sometimes I feel, like I want to live this life where, like, oh, you're doing this artwork thing, which is like also like, okay, fun because it's like art, like, come on. And like, but it's not like you're struggling with anything because you're like from Bombay, so it's like you have money also. And I just like think about it where I'm like, you know, this will just never happen. This like this is just impossible, you know? Like, okay, if I want to do this, maybe when I'm 30, maybe, maybe. Which is also not a guarantee because even if I don't do this art bullshit, even if I make money, like I don't think I'll be able to make money to like get a house and be stable and have a credit line going on so that I can just like so like it's just like just comparing my life with someone who's just like completely different ball game, and then uh, comparing myself to that like career wise. So then I ask myself, right, would you rather like no, I ask myself, do I like something so much, right, so much कि I am ready to live like one room with like four people, and then not go to the gym and not have anything good to wear, and just like have like no holidays for the next 6 years and anything. Like, do I like something that much for me to take that big of a leap? Okay, in like arts and all, where my competition of people who maybe like it just as much, but they have all the financial support and emotional support for them to not be miserable. And at some point, I tried to convince myself, oh, yes, I love videos and all, and yes, and everything. But I was like, you know what? If my conviction, if I really liked it that much, I don't think I would have to convince myself, you know? And what's the point of this video? I forgot. Uh, so, yeah. I think the final conclusion of what this thought process that I had in my mind is key. There are some base desires which I think apply in like a lot of fields, but a parallel I saw is like love life and a career, and like there are some base desires which you can fulfill in many ways, but you have to take in consideration these base desires and your present condition and what you want and what you can put up with, right? Because that's what it is like. Will is this something so worth it, right? Because for example, let me be very honest, if I was like doing like videos and like videos were making me feel so good about myself, right, that I would rather do nothing else, I wouldn't be doing this or law or anything, right? Like I wouldn't have to convince myself to be like, okay, yes, I want to sacrifice all this, because if I wanted to, I would have. So then comes the question, okay, so then what? Like you're just supposed to do a job which you're not really passionate about, and I'm like, passionate? Maybe it is all about your base desires and interests, and you find a job which fulfills that, so that in the weekends or something, you use these other interests to just have fun, right? In the same way, you like date someone who's not perfect, and you like everything is not perfect, but you know, you're there, and you make it work. Because then when the bad things happen and like there's no one, someone is there, or like, um, I don't know, I haven't figured that part out, but yeah, that is it for the first episode of this podcast. My roommate is sleeping, and I seem to have pissed him off. So I have been trying to keep it very quiet, but that is it, my ironies. If you're a girl, this is applied to you. This is only for boys. That is it. Hopefully, there